I got on the bus and, I was bused.
She didn't want to put us on the bus.
I was just on a bus going to school.
New Rochelle was the first city in the north to be tried for segregation.
The Lincoln Elementary School that used to stand right here has been leveled now.
My mother, she was very vocal against tearing down Lincoln School.
In the north, I think you've had de facto segregation as bad or even more extreme than in the south.
My parents boycotted. Yes, they pulled us all out of school, and so with that, they said, well, you're going to jail. And my parents was like, okay.
That's probably the image that I remember of my dad in the civil rights work. It's kind of something that's always been ingrained in my head.
They closed the school and tore it down. That was huge.
This story is about an entire city switching and all of us going to school together.
As a kid, you didn't understand why anybody would not want to be your friend because you looked different from them. It was the parents that had a problem.
All the stuff that's going on now, you have to be taught that.
We are not finished talking about race. We won't be finished talking about race until we can talk about it with an educated mind and an open heart. The conversation has come full circle.
Oh, little playmate, come out and play with me, and bring your dollies free. Climb up my apple tree, slide down my rainbow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze, Breezeway Productions' The Breeze, where we bring you the latest independent film and film festival news, and we continue our coverage of this year's Harlem Film Festival, the 2022 edition, with the film team from Leveling Lincoln. We have with us Arden Lewis, Kimberly Woods, and Jack Stannard. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
Right on.
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
For sure. Thanks for coming on the show. So tell us a little about Leveling Lincoln.
Well, Leveling Lincoln started a few years ago, just a few years ago. My mother started talking more and divesting more of photos and things from my childhood. And she showed me all these pictures of this very integrated Girl Scout troop, but never had explained to me why busing had begun. And through the course of all these conversations, I started interviewing folks from that troop and folks from my school who also didn't know why busing had begun. Then we discovered that this civil rights case that happened before New Jersey, before Boston, before Chicago, before Manhattan was having their troubles, but they hadn't started, the Harlem Nine had happened right before this, which was another small case, small victory for these impacted schools that were segregated. And in New Rochelle, New York, this affluent, liberal, progressive community, 5 families sued and 11 children were plaintiffs on a court case, very similar to Ruby Bridges' situation, in that they were being funneled into a predominantly Black school, and they won. And they won with this NAACP lawyer and ended up in my school. The year I started was sort of the first year that the case was erased and put under the carpet, and they tore the school down to sort of get rid of the story. And it worked because I never even knew there was a school there. So that's how the journey started. I was a theater director and a kindergarten teacher, and I had taken a few film classes for fun, and then went, the world's changed. I can get this done. I can get this done. And I started asking younger people if they were interested, and they said yes, and jumped on this team. And I started filming interviews, and that sort of just started peeling the onion of what happened back in 1959, 1960 in this northern case that then rippled all across the north.
Yeah, New Rochelle, great city, right outside of New York City, Westchester County.
Beautiful place to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah, I've spent some time over there. Very nice, and it continues to build nonstop. There's high rises going up almost every day. So thumbs up for New Rochelle. So Kimberly, tell me how you got involved in the project and what your role was on it.
So I was one of the producers on the project, and I had been at Theater West over here in Los Angeles with Arden, and she'd been working on the film a little bit before, she asked me to come aboard, right? Because I think you were about to do your first interviews.
I think we were, but we had not shot a minute. We had not shot a minute.
Who approached whom
Crossing
for,
my
for
fingers,
working on
Kimberly
this?
would say yes. I'm
Oh,
sorry?
so you asked Kimberly to work on
I
this?
did. I had coffee with several people. Tinks Lovelace, our primary, our AD and producer, said yes. She hails from Britain by way of South Africa. And I thought, if she's interested in this case, she'd never heard of a court case like this without dogs and hoses and violence. And it made this case unusual in a weird
peaceful?
way. Well, there were protests, yes, but nobody was punched, hit. But the children's story, as we peeled the onion, was a little bit different.
Sure.
And I was intrigued about it being one of the first cases in the North for desegregation.
Okay, so it shows that
also,
this is where it got started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. How
And
about
her
you, Jack?
husband came along for the ride, who was our editor, Andrew Jordan. Just wanted to mention him.
Okay.
And they all said yes. And then Jack showed up at the first shoot and has stayed with us till today.
Okay, so Jack, how did you end up on the first shoot? Were you just walking along, and somebody give you a call, or like, how did you end up working with everyone on this project?
As much as I'd love the story to be, I was just walking down the street with a camera and met Arden. She called a mutual friend of ours, actually, sort of out of the blue, or not out of the blue, but she spoke to a mutual friend of ours, and he recommended me, and Arden and I talked, and obviously I was interested in the story, in the history. This sort of thing is important, I think, for all of us, but certainly it was important to me. And I think a lot of what Arden was saying, as somebody who was a part of that first class to go through an entirely integrated school system in New Rochelle, was like, that was a hook for me in terms of like, this is an interesting, not just an interesting story, but this is a piece of important history that hasn't really had a light, hasn't really been discussed. And there was so much, and I mean, it was so clear meeting people and shooting throughout how much nuance, how much, the layers of the onion from everybody at every age and every stage as this all happened. So yeah, I was excited to sort of be aboard, and yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. So Kim, when you were working with Arden on producing this, what were you excited to bring to the table, and the hardest thing that was accomplished that you were working on for putting this together? Always got to talk about the hardest goal.
Well, as a producer, I wore many hats in this. I was excited because I have experience with voiceover to help out with sound from time to time. Okay. So that was fun. I helped out with sound. I helped out with reaching out to some people. I reached out to the president of the NAACP in New Rochelle, and he was really great and introduced us to a lot of people in the community, which was so much fun. Awesome. And I've been helping oversee the post-production process a lot with archival footage and editing meetings and all that stuff.
Very nice. Arden, what do you hope that people are able to take away after they experience Leveling Lincoln?
Well, I hope to save history. And I mean, I'm a teacher, and I'm being told that there are books I can't use, and where I teach, fortunately, it is not happening, but it is happening to teachers. So I hope, and Kimberly helped me very much with this, to focus on the lens of the child that has to cross the threshold. However you're going to solve and we are truly right now almost as segregated as we were back in 1954 when Brown came down. And how has that happened? And I mean, I'm constantly reading. My plain reading is all about what's happening today and the data of how it's changing. So I guess I wanted to keep reminding folks that it's a child that you're dealing with. It's a child that if you're gerrymandering districts and moving lines around and putting a throughway through to destroy a neighborhood or ripping out a school. In the case of the Lincoln area, that neighborhood never really recovered. So there's pros and cons to both. You know, it's very exciting to say, yes, they won their case and integration and everything. And I had an incredible experience because of it. And I'm truly grateful and thanked every person who told their story for my own education. But that has to be guarded, nurtured, and just remembering with every piece of legislation and every budget decision that it is a child and they are being formed into a citizen. And they don't forget, as we have discovered through this film, everything that occurs. It's not like, oh, in a couple of years it's quiet, so they're okay. They're not all okay. So I just want that always to be in the forefront. I think I'm hoping this film will do that, and that high school teachers and college teachers can grab it off the shelf and pop it in fairly easily and have a great discussion afterwards. We try to tie it into today at the end.
Yeah, the education system is consistently neglected, and teachers have been crying out for better pay, better staffing, better education, and obviously there's a lot of legislators that aren't giving them the money they need, the resources they need, the things they need to educate the youth. So this is a good showcase of how things changed, how far we've come, but still how much more work that we need to do for the future. And it's, when you mentioned the banning books, I totally forgot about it, even though it was very recent, because there's new issues that continue to pop up that just grab the spotlight that people are fighting for: pro-choice, pro-life, and the decisions that people have to make. But thankfully, and I'm happy to be in New York, and I believe that New York is on the right side of history. So may that long continue. And in closing, is there anything you'd like to say to the Harlem Film Festival for the official selection this year for your film, Leveling Lincoln?
Oh, so honored, so grateful. I know they had to go virtual, but ironically, I think more folks are going to see it because of that, because you can go there, select it for $2.99. You see it online. It even rhymes. I mean, it's nice. Been very easy to get folks who can't necessarily travel. I mean, wow, do we want to go to Harlem? And what they were able to do is just beautiful. Yeah. So we're very honored. And our Paul Zuber, the lawyer for the case, started his career in Harlem. And he was part of the Harlem 9 case. And then he went on to New Rochelle. So it was very apropos to get chosen for this festival.
Right on.
Well, it was chills to get
you made it into the festival. You are the official selection. People have been checking out the film, and it's a great subject matter for people to go and look into. Education, very, very important for the current generations and for the future. Where can people go to find out more about the film? Website, Facebook, YouTube?
Levelinglincoln.com. And our screening schedules are there too, and our links to festivals. We're Saturday at noon. We're live. I'm in New Jersey City right now. Because tomorrow at noon we have a screening. So all the information is there, levelinglincoln.com.
Awesome. Well,
and get on our subscriber list.
I will make sure to post that below, so definitely go and follow the links to check out Leveling Lincoln. And I want to thank all of you for joining me today on The Breeze. Arden Lewis, Kimberly Woods, and Jack Stannard, we appreciate you spending the time on The Breeze today.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much.